Okay, Sandy Hook happens. It's a huge political event. Obama has him to the White House. It's going on. I think maybe somebody helped the kid kill these kids. The whole story's bizarre. And then about a year after...
Still doing it. The lawyer was so right. He'll never stop. He'll never stop. Like, he can't.
Give me a break. So you have the rhinos, the neocons, the rabid left allied together against the populist uprising of nationalist Americans who are peacefully trying to take our country back.
He said the quiet part out loud. There it is. There's a ding, 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 ding. The nationalists. I mean, they like to add Christian beforehand, so it's like, oh, it's the Christian nationalists. It's not... Ooh, yeah, sorry. We're not talking the ones you're thinking of. But, yeah, the Christian nationalists. You were gonna unite together to destroy them all. Yes. The last time Alex Jones was on Steven Crowder's show, he did a sketch with Steven Crowder, and Alex Jones dressed up as a trans woman in the sketch, and in the sketch it took place in prison, and then said that he was going to rape the other person who was in the prison. That was the sketch. That was the level of comedy they were working with there.
I mean that. I'm humbled every day by how many of you tune in. I cannot thank you enough. We compete with the likes of everyone out there as far as late night. It's kind of late night in the morning, right? This used to start out as a late night show. You guys said it's too late, so we moved it to the morning. It's basically a late night show. Okay, we compete with all of them. If someone were to say, well, if you don't like all these late night shows, go create your own. Only all the late night shows had $2 trillion from the government. And those late night shows, because they were being funded, subsidized, or insured by the government, you the taxpayer, could also dictate the terms, the community guidelines on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Go create your own platform. You can't. I'm using that as an example. You cannot compete against a business that has a never-ending supply of federal funding. Hope you love Vanguard. Hope you love...
God, I was like, where are you going with this? Is this just because you can't understand or call out capitalism or economic systems at all, so you're just blaming it all on the big government? It's like, yeah, you can't compete with YouTube because of all the government money. Yeah, that's the reason you'll never be able to compete with them.
BlackRock, because your socialist light, pow-wow chow broad, Elizabeth Warren, also wanted to deem them too big to fail. Looking out for you? Anyone who says any company is too big to fail is not looking out for you. These too big to fail companies, what that really means is the government gets to tell them what to do. And then they get to remove you. So you can't bank, you can't speak, and hey, if everyone got pushed onto PayPal or some form of...
Oh, Nordic, that wasn't actually him being racist. That was Elizabeth Warren being racist. He was referencing Elizabeth Warren's indigenous cooking book of a very unfortunate name.
Standardized digital currency, you also can't purchase firearms or ammunition. It's not illegal. The government's not making it. They're not infringing on your rights. You just can't do it because these companies say so. Well, hold on a second. Well, those companies wouldn't be in business because half the country wouldn't support them. Well, it doesn't matter if you want to support them or not. Your tax dollars do. It absolutely is a First Amendment issue. It absolutely is. This is not an issue of private businesses. So you can talk about Alex Jones all you want, but do you want to talk about Kanye West? Do you want to talk about Dr. Peter McCullough? Do you want to talk about all of the shows that have been removed here online because of a few key companies who, by the way, receive favorable treatment from the government?
Now, if he's saying that a lot of these tech companies aren't paying their fair share of taxes, that I will agree with, that they should pay more, fuck tons more. Yeah, if that's the road we're going down, that's different than there's no potential for anyone to ever compete with these companies, not because of the way the monopolistic corporate system works in the United States, but because of Obama and Biden. Not Trump, though. He stopped it. But then Biden brought it back.
Let's try and take the blinders off and not just see this through the lens of I disagree with what so-and-so or whomever said. Because the left is very good at creating a mob, right? They all...
Like, is he referencing this? Like, Amazon, Facebook, and other tech giants paid almost $100 billion less in taxes than they claimed. It says, analysis, nonprofit says the big tech paid just about 3.6 revenue in income tax. Like, that's nothing. Paid roughly $219 billion in income tax, which projects to about 3.6 of their $6 trillion plus total revenue. Like, yeah, they're not paying their fair share. This isn't the government directly controlling tech companies in an attempt to directly control speech against the First Amendment to the Constitution.
Fall under one umbrella, And they'll make sure.
And also, just so you know, Donald Trump actually kind of did that one because he lowered the corporate tax rate, which in turn also helped big tech companies.
Sure that they target you. And because you're free thinkers on the right, it's hard. The term has been used, it's like herding cats. Let's not herd cats with this one. Whether you're a libertarian and all you care about is Bitcoin and weed, or you're, by God, Mitch McConnell's fan. Anyone out there. Let's make sure that we are unified in this.
Jesus, get to the point. Where is he?
Alex, hold on just 1 second, Alex, because I want to give you the floor, okay? And what's the best place? Because I know you have several sites. Is it Infowars.com still the best place for people to go?
Yeah, so they want to actually hear what we're saying and not editing.
That was kind of a softball, Alex. Come on. You get the chance to do what you love doing, which is the plug. You don't have to go right into like conspiracy yet. You can save these ones.
Clips or twisted derivatives, and they want to hear what the establishment is so scared of. Infowars.com, okay. Infowars.com/show, and bang.
The leaked CCTV footage of Infowars Studios, Alex drinking. No, please do send.
And .video, and if they see us like a Roman standard, right, they want to capture and pull down and get control of.
Someone seems to be spamming Alex Jones's websites with videos of him drinking. A video that appears to show Infowars founder drinking like an out-of-shape Don Draper was embedded onto multiple sites offering Jones-related content. Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist extraordinaire, seems to have an enemy. The Daily Dot reports that 2 of Jones' video hosting sites appear to be getting spammed with a supercut of clips of the right-wing host day drinking while at work. Where the video comes from, why anyone would put together such a thing, and whether Jones is actually drinking alcohol in these videos is unknown. The Dot reports that a link to the video has been popping up on the Jones-related account on BitChute and Band.video, the platform that hosts most of Jones' videos since he was kicked off of YouTube and other mainstream websites. Has he been hacked? Okay, hold on. I just want to open this off screen in case it links to something super bad. Oh my god, it's all penises. No, it's not actually. It's just the site. It's not on the band.video. Is it on the BitChute? No, it's not on the BitChute. Oh, weird. Hey, I just listed a bunch of competitors, in tech to the one you were talking about, YouTube. There's Rumble too. Rumble's doing really, really well, getting very big numbers without all that government money. Weird how that happened. And the bigger they get, the less they'll have to pay in taxes, thanks to Donald Trump. Yeah, it's gonna be a thing. So, Odyssey as well, based on cryptocurrency. You get that one too.
I'm the Democrat deep state noodle shoe toy.
I want to give you the shoe toy. I know I want to give you the floor, but I think it's really important to set this up. And believe me, I'm going to let you run. You know me well enough. I'm going to let you run with this. But I want to set up something. For example, when I had Brian Callen on the show one time, and he was falsely accused of sexual assault, I spoke with Brian and I said, "Look, I'm going to lead this interview with, did you do it?" And he said, "No, off air." I said, "Brian, you're going to say that on air, and I don't care what your lawyers tell you. If you didn't do it, say it." And so I want to lead this right now because I think this is pivotal. And we've done several multi-hour long shows, but for some reason this gets lost. And I want you to correct me if I have this wrong. So in 2017, as an example, because the narrative is Sandy Hook, you tormented the parents, you called them out by name, and you continually harassed them. From what I understand, and I have some quotes here in front of me, and I want you to tell me if I'm misquoting you, you admitted you were wrong and you apologized. And I think that's key because they still want to go after you anyway. So 2017, you talked about an epiphany you had on Father's Day. You said, forgive me, on fire.
Does that apply to everything? Like, if you steal a car, if you come out and you're like, I'd like to deeply apologize, I was wrong. Is that where it ends? Right there? Is that how the system works? Because like, the apology can be as hollow as it is, by the way. He's recanted his apology numerous times. I don't think at this point you get to even say that he apologized. He has 180'd on that apology so many times and also doubled and tripled down on the Sandy Hook thing. Maybe behind the scenes a little bit more, but he was still doing it. It's not as if he's remorseful at all for his actions outside of the fact that he's being held to account. He doesn't want to have to be sued. That's true. No one wants to be sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars successfully, I might add. That's also pretty fucked.
Father's Day, I want to reach out to the parents of the slain children at the horrible tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, and give you my sincere condolences.
I'm glad he's taking this seriously.
You said that, right?
Yes.
Okay, you also said, I'd also like to reach out to any of the parents who lost a child at Newtown to invite them to contact me to open a dialogue, because I think it's really essential we do that instead of letting the mainstream media misrepresent things and really try and drive this nation apart.
That's not a full apology. That's coming out and saying, like, I'm deeply sorry, and I'd like to invite anyone who wants to come to my show so that we can get the story straight and I can generate some content out of it. That's not the same thing.
Said that, right?
Before they sued me.
Yes, before they sued you. And then in 2019, in a deposition, you said, and I myself have almost like a form of psychosis in the past where I basically thought everything was staged, even though I've now learned a lot of times things aren't staged. And I'm not saying this to embarrass you, Alex. I'm saying it because you were clear in that you had a change of heart, or you believed that you were wrong, or you believed you made a mistake, which I think is admirable. And I think the fact that they want to browbeat you after that is what is so scary. And I think that people out here would do well, if you're watching, to understand that apologies do nothing with these monsters. You also said, so I think as a pun.
These monsters? The parents? That's who you're talking about. They're the ones who sued him.
Someone giving an opinion that, you know, my opinions have been wrong, but they were never wrong consciously to hurt people. So do I have this right in saying multiple times you said you were wrong,
Yes.
and you apologized in one fashion or another? And by the way, both before and after being sued. Would that be a correct statement for me to make, Alex?
I said I believe Sandy Hook happened in 2016.
Right.
I said it in 2015. And this is important. It's a lot bigger than Alex Jones. It's the anatomy of the left. It's like with George Floyd or something, taking something and then blowing it up to be the biggest thing on earth. It's like you can take a microscope and zoom in on a grain of sand and it looks like the Himalayan mountains, but it's not really. So
right.
Here's what really happened.
Yes.
Here's what really happened. I can give you the latest information where they're going with it. This is going to affect everybody, and thank you, sir. Okay, Sandy Hook happens. It's a huge political event. Obama has it with the White House. It's going on. I think maybe somebody helped the kid kill these kids. The whole story's bizarre. And then about a year after,
still doing it. Fucking 4K. Like, the lawyer was so right. He'll never stop. He'll never stop. Like, he can't.
All these professors and people that sounded credible come out, and school safety experts, and say that they thought it was just completely staged. And I'd seen things like Operation Northwoods that talked about staging attacks on school kids that didn't exist as a pretext for war with Cuba and Russia. So I said, yeah, a lot of stuff's been staged. Maybe this is. So I did 4 or 5 programs from.
Oh my God, that is such a downplaying. It's not like, I'm just asking questions. No, come on. It was like show after show after show after show. There was so many of them, so many clips they had. There was an overwhelming amount of evidence to be able to demonstrate that you were just consistently being like, you know, we have found out, folks, they aren't real. They're all dead. You know, they're fucking crisis actors. You know, like that's what you were saying.
Like 2000 and I guess 13, 14, questioning maybe that it was staged. Barely a blip on the radar. It was a huge internet issue, hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, other people's videos. My listeners wanted to know. My crew wanted to cover it. They wanted to talk about it. So what they put in evidence against me was about 24 minutes in Texas, about 25 minutes in Connecticut. In 10 years, this is the big evil stuff. The guy that got rich off Sandy Hook, the guy that wears Sandy Hook underwear, the guy that prays 5 times a day to New Haven, Connecticut. I mean, my mother didn't give birth to me. Sandy Hook did. I mean, my whole life is this, okay?
Right.
But it's not. So Hillary and the Democrats start running this false news campaign during 2016 campaign that I'm Trump's brain. They look at this flamboyant, wild guy. He's a...
He doxed them. Yeah, that has to be, like, fucking said out loud. He also doxed them. That's one of the reasons why I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of Republican pushback against this that includes a little tidbit. A lot of people are like, oh, I think he's just being attacked politically for his ideas. Oh, well, what if we can sue Alex Jones for lying? Why can't we sue, like, basically every news station that lies? They lied about a lot of things. They lied about the Iraq War. And, news stations do get sued, by the way. They have been sued successfully. A lot of news stations, like NBC, got sued by the kid wearing the MAGA hat with the indigenous person playing beside him for the way they were characterizing him. I think he sued NBC for like over $200 million. So it's not like that doesn't happen. Fox News has been sued as well. News stations have been sued.
Populist.
They have giant
a lot
legal
of people
departments.
supporting Trump.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, how do you separate journalism from whatever this is? And like, there are ethics and standards and practices, but there's not like a licensing board. It's not like you have to get a publishing house license that is overseen by a board that makes sure that no one truly does these X amount of things, because there can't be in the United States, just by definition, because you can't have a government body that is going to be able to pass legislation or control the freedom of the press. And that's good. That is a good thing. But along that line, you can judge basically what standards and practices are followed by which different departments and how are they followed. Is there ethics? Is there an editorial board? Are they transparent about it? Now, even really big things like the BBC will be a fucking clown shoes transphobic operation and get called out for really fucked up transphobic articles and issue only slight corrections when they really should be changing the fact that these were transphobic hit pieces that didn't even know or do the due diligence on the people they were talking about in the article. So it's not that it can't happen. But I think it's perfectly reasonable for the victims in this case to sue Alex Jones. I would say the same thing if the victims were if the same thing had happened that Rachel Maddow had done it. If it's like Rachel Maddow's going on a show every night and she's like, oh, you'll never believe this, but the Sandy Hook may be a false flag attack. The kids may not be real. The parents, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, so we have the addresses of the parents and they are making up the kids. I know this for a fact, blah, 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 hold it up. Like, yeah, if the families wanted to sue her or the network for that, well, of course. Yeah, it's a danger to society if people like that can get people like harassed and killed.
Let's make him a liability. Let's take the worst stuff he said out of context and run tens of millions of TV ads against Trump using Alex Jones saying he's Trump's brain.
That's where they're conspiracy theorying the whole thing, that this is a political hit job because he was just too pro-Trump. That's why they do this. The victims' families.
And one thing, just to make really clear is just again for the YouTube gods.
Context. Oh, never helped him. Every clip you watch in that trail,
it didn't happen again.
It was so bad.
I will say that you were saying, because you saw this, and there were other people, there were other professors, there were other conspiracy theorists, some of whom turned out to not be credible, and then you didn't have them on your show anymore. You did say maybe this is staged, and just again to be clear, you afterwards said no, it was not staged. I was wrong. You did correct it, right, Alec?
And was it one then the other? Like one day was he like, oh, the whole thing, it was false flag. The kids aren't real. And then the next day he was like, oh, I was completely wrong on that. Just some very easy cursory research has shown me that I was wrong. I deeply apologize to the families and any of the victims. I can't believe I'd said that. Was that the timeline?
Yes. But it's important to understand this timeline.
Yeah.
So for over a year and a half, from 2015 into 2016, we've checked the record. I never talked about it one time. And I told the crew, this is a tar baby. It's a setup. I don't want to ever discuss it again. I think it happened. We started seeing that some of the folks that were claiming it was staged had gone even crazier, and we're now dysregulating and showing that.
One of them was a Holocaust denier when you platformed them and put them on your show. Yeah, Alex. Come on.
And indeed, they had put out things that were wrong. So I was not the Sandy Hook guy. It didn't put me on the map. I barely ever covered it. But Hillary blows it up, makes it a cause celeb for Democrats. They use it to bring back all the gun control and now attacks on free speech and to attack Trump. And so then...
Isn't that a slur? Definition. Noun, a difficult problem that is only aggravated by attempts to solve it. A contemptuous term for a black person. I did not know this. Not in this context? Okay.
Trump wins, they go even crazier and they start attacking me, saying he's sending people to the kids' houses. He's sending people to the parents' houses. He won't stop saying it didn't happen. And I'm like, I said years ago it happened. Stop it. This is a media event. They're building up, obviously, to come after the First Amendment. So I issued dozens of corrections.
There's so many conspiracy theories about him, like being Bill Hicks or an Israeli agent. I didn't know that.
Dozens of apologies. You just mentioned one of them there. And then they sue me in 2018. And then they do all this discovery. We give them all the emails, all the text messages, everything. There's no evidence we made money on Sandy Hook. There's no evidence I premeditatedly got it wrong on purpose. And so both...
There's so much overwhelmingly... Like they had to prove intent. And they did very successfully. Like that, across the board, their evidence was overwhelming. But their evidence, in most part, was the stuff that they just recorded from your show. It was his own words. It was just playing clips of Alex Jones. That was the bulk of the evidence they were presenting for a large part of the trial. And then, when it gets to the point where it's like, is Alex Jones doing anything on his show currently? Because he's been told by the judge not to create or sorry, not to speak about this with anyone other than his lawyer outside. Is he doing shows? Turns out he is, but turns out his shows are filled with graphics of the judge basically being on fire and in flames, kind of satanic looking, and also he's going to call the jury blue collar rubes kind of shit. It's like, oh, they're fucking, you know, they're just they're from another planet. They're all from another planet, or something like that. I was just like, he did it in both. He did it in Connecticut as well. He can't help himself, and he never will. He creates his own evidence in real time as it's taking place. Also, the fact that his legal team did an oopsie and sent all of his text messages and emails, which could actually have much worse implications, because some of that had to be handed over apparently to the FBI. So there's your link, but not in the way you'd think, because of January 6th, because of your role in January 6th. So that one's not great either. That part's, but that came after. That's not from the Sandy Hook parents. That has nothing to do with the $1 billion. Well, outside of the fact that they used that evidence that your own legal team turned over. I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they sent all of his messages, all of his text messages that had so much fucking shit. It had like financial information through his emails, and they got to find out how much money he's worth. That's where these huge numbers are coming from, because they're like, oh, you're fucking rich as shit. You've just been hiding all of this because you didn't hand any of this over. Like, he's in contempt of court, by the way. His direct testimony contradicts the evidence that his own legal team sent over. It's like, that's pretty wild.
Democrat connected judges, one of them is supposedly Republican, but she's like George W. Bush. They default me saying
saying what?
We lost Alex for a second. Alex, can you hear me, brother? This is clearly the globalists.
He's told I'm guilty. The jury's told I'm guilty. I'm not allowed in a 5-week trial.
Oh, that was strange. Kind of felt like it was like leftist quality for a little bit there. Aren't you supposed to be the rich-ass capitalists? You got no excuse.
In Connecticut, to defend myself, the judge actually says, you can't say you're innocent, you can't say you're bankrupt, you can't say you didn't make money off of it. I say it's all true. And then they instruct the jury after 5 weeks of crying parents, not talking about Adam Lanza killing their children, talking about me.
Well, I know that, Alex, but let me ask you a couple of important questions here, because I think these are things that people, and I know you have I believe you have a highlight, or are we going to roll the highlight? The one that, you had something you wanted to show us a clip. But look, I think it's important to,
because it was your civil trial. They would be kind of weird if they just talked about things unrelated directly to your civil trial, like the damages that you caused to them, so people had context with that, and how much worse you made their lives, which they said, like, one of the moms got to say it out loud to your face, which was like such a powerful moment. But it really makes it clear, like, all the lies and all the memes and everything just melts away when you actually can hear one of the parents just straight up calling him out to his face, being like, the harassment was never ending. It never stopped. We could never even grieve for our dead kids because of the fucking phone calls and people showing up at the door and the knocks and all of them claiming that we were lying, that we didn't have a child, that we were acting like the fucking... one of the worst fucking things you could do. It's so horrifying. Like... It's only a testament to how large Alex Jones and his empire is that the right is just going full on in on this. Because, like, it's bad. It's like, it's a very clear-cut case. There's so much evidence. He was just doing it over and over and over and wouldn't stop. And even if he's not doing it in person because he's worried of legal ramifications and issues of non-apology, he's still talking about it behind the scenes and still trading things with other people, being like, oh, Sandy Hook is real. Yeah. It's not a false flag attack. No, I think it is. Shit. His net worth is between 135 and 270. This should destroy him. I mean, we'll see. He's very slippery. Who knows? He could cash out as much as he can and go to a non-extraditional country and then just do his show forever with crypto. Like, that is the thing he could do. I don't know if he would want to live outside of America, but he could do a John McAfee. He could definitely do a John McAfee.
Note, first off, let me ask you questions. If you could just give me yes or no's on this, and I want to give you the floor again.
Yes, sir.
And did you ever call the parents out by name on air and say that they were their children, like, call them out by name on air?
Only Robbie Parker.
Okay. And afterwards,
and I did not say that he staged it or it was fake. I said people think this clip was like 30 million views on YouTube or more.
Right.
It was a viral clip. People say this guy looks fake. And so I said, yeah, it does look like acting to me, but he's, under stress, whatever. So they've built this mountain out of a molehill.
Right. I have one other question too.
Years and years. Yeah, yes, they gave an FBI agent who I'd never seen till he sued me, didn't know who he was. He gets up there and cries about me. They gave him $90 million when under federal and state law, you can't sue somebody you've never said their name for defamation or slander. Never said his name, never asked for a retraction until he sued me. Didn't even know who he was till I saw his name on the lawsuit. He gets $90 million.
Well, let me ask you another follow-up.
Winfrey's handing out, you get a car. It's like, yes. You get...
Well, I do have a question that's important here because people will say, well, the reason you weren't allowed to defend yourself is it was a default judgment. And they say because you didn't provide the evidence, right, that was requested in discovery. Give me very specifics, not just all. You did provide and hand over a lot of evidence. What did you hand over? Because they did have financials. They did have.
That was because your own legal team.
They did have access to financials. They did have access to certain traffic metrics. When I was watching the trial, they would say, "Well, actually, they didn't hand over, for example, the Alexa reportings as opposed to the Google Analytics reportings." What kind of evidence, when you were asked to hand over? Just give me some.
He did exactly what you'd expect him to do, which is to do just a monster dump of shit, so that they have to rifle through it, and it's very costly to have like either temps or legal assistants go through all your stuff for a high-profile case like this. Like the idea being like, oh, if we just give them so much information, hours and hours, it's so much billable time, they're definitely gonna slow down or not want to go through with this, blah blah blah, and then we can say that we gave all the evidence that we're supposed to. But the most important evidence that they had came in the form of that leak, that dump, that 300 gigabyte dump of like all of his text messages and all of his emails, and like it's just like, here you go, and it's like, oh wow, this is whew. Are you sure?
Examples of what you did hand over. Did you hand over financial documents as it related to the company?
Yes.
Did you hand over documents as it related to different traffic and revenue streams to some degree or another?
To an extreme degree, the most ever given over in a civil defamation trial, many lawyers estimate. Stephen, let me be 100% clear.
So what are they saying you didn't provide is my point. Because this is something a lot of people who unfortunately on the right, Alex, this is important. I'm just saying this because people will try and take this out of context. People on the right will say, well, then you should comply during discussion.
Do you know what's so wild about Crowder is that like he's trying to make this whole thing seem like it's like reporting. Like he's actually going to ask him some tough questions just because, like, even though he's a friend, I'm not going to go easy on him. This is a very serious topic, and I just want to set the record straight so we have the true story, so everyone knows the truth. Okay, cool. We're out here. When the whole thing is just like, okay, so I'm going to get you on my show, and we're going to downplay the severity of what you did and the consequences of your actions, and make it look as if you're not a bad person. That's what we'll do.
What in the fuck are they claiming you didn't provide so that you were not allowed to defend yourself?
All right, let me answer that question, and I want to get into people saying, oh, this is just for Alex Jones. In Texas, they claimed that because we did so much discovery, and they would have each person that they were deposing give them more discovery. So they'd say, out of the 200,000 emails you gave us in Texas, in one of the discovery batches you gave us, there was one extra email that wasn't in this batch. Little weird gotcha games. Mm-hmm. And then in Connecticut, the judge kept saying, give me the Google Analytics. Well, we hardly ever even used Google Analytics, hardly ever even looked at it.
Yeah.
So we explained to the judge, ma'am, it's a search box for the back end of Google, and a lot of it you have to pay for. We've never paid for it. We've barely ever used it, but we searched for Google Analytics and found one writer.
Google Analytics is free. What are you talking about?
And one other person in the group that had looked at Google Analytics and said, oh, look how much traffic we're getting a few times. So we gave them what we had in our system about Google Analytics. Take Alexa, same thing. They said, give us the Alexa. Well, Stephen, I want you to give me the Google. And then I say, and then you say, okay, what do you want me to search?
Man, the bar is so low. I can't, is the right gonna buy all this? Like, all you would have to do is point to any part of the trial or the viral Perry Mason moment, if you want to show that one, to show that there was a significant amount of evidence that he did turn over, and that evidence turned out to be very substantial to the case. In fact, maybe the most substantial evidence to the case. So it's absolutely absurd. Like for him to be able to downplay this and be like, well, if someone asks you for your Alexa, as in the device that you can physically own and have inside your office, or you could have one inside that room, not the product brand name. Okay, those are two separate things. But that's it. That's the defense. Okay. All right.
Search in Google.
Right.
No, sir, give me the Google.
Right.
Give me the Alexa. We know you've got it. So they followed this unfair trade practices thing that not only did I lie about Sandy Hook on purpose to make money, as they falsely claim, but that I was making all this money.
No, you did. You lied about Sandy Hook for money. That is what happened. That is a matter of fact. You can't say that's a false claim. It's literally what you did.
With those lies in unfair trade practice and then demonize me selling my own products. So that's really where we are. And for people out there that say, hey, this is just for Alex Jones, so what? It's the same Republicans 4 years ago when I got deplatformed that said it would never be President Trump or would never be them. They admit, the Democrats admit, they're on PBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, CNN, celebrating, and they've been doing it for years, saying, once we set the precedent.
Wait a second. I'm trying to make a clip of the part where he was talking.
What's going on? I
think still
maybe
denial.
Somebody helped the kid kill these kids. The whole story's bizarre. And
There
then
it
about
is.
a year after.
4K. Like, first stop. Can't.
Okay, Sandy Hook happens. It's
Gonna post that to the internets because I don't think anyone. I haven't seen any of the normal Media Matters stuff talk about this yet. But he's still doing it. Theme on Crowder forgiving Jones. I know it's just fucked. Crowder. Is Glenn Greenwald gonna do another fucking PR run? Alex Jones. Was this recorded live today? This is 3 hours ago. Alex Jones today went on Steven Crowder's show and continued to spread Sandy Hook conspiracy theories.
event. Obama has him to the White House. It's going on. I think maybe somebody helped the kid kill these kids. The whole story's bizarre.
Yep.
Bureaucrats like this FBI agent sue somebody when no one's even ever said their name just because they got heat in public over, say, election fraud. Now they can sue you and get $90 million. And here is the Secretary of State in Texas. I've got the article right here in my stack saying Alex Jones unleashed hell. This is a Republican on us during the election. He caused threats to our election officials. I didn't contest the 2020 Texas election. I didn't even cover that. Project Veritas did. I should have covered it more. The point is that
cover it? Not
I'm
once?
now the whipping.
No coverage at all. Oh, okay. Wild. I do watch you quite a bit, and I do recall watching quite a bit of coverage of the election, quite a bit of it actually. A lot of anger around those times. Yeah, very mad. There was a period where you were getting quite mad. I remember your rallies and all the speeches you were giving. You were doing a lot of IRL activism back then, a lot of direct action, you know. And then there's those speeches that you were giving. And I do remember seeing you marching towards the location on January 6th, the Capitol building. I do recall that as well. You had a megaphone. You said, we're coming for you bastards, or we're coming for you commies. We're coming for you bastards. Something like that. We're coming for you, Satan, stuff like that. And then once you realized that you kind of had stoked the fire so much that this was becoming real, you did a fantastic and cowardly 180 for self-preservation, because that's what you are, a coward. So you did that whole thing where you went back on the microphone and you're like, it's a trap. It's Antifa. Antifa is coordinating an attack to make us look bad. Hurry, come on, we must leave. Because, yeah, it's basically the most craven thing you could do, which is to incite people, not because you cared about a cause or wanted to accomplish something, but because you liked all the clicks and the viral shit and the fact that it was making you really famous, and that was really good for you. But then when it came push to shove and the coup was going down, you're like, oh no, I'm actually a big coward and I don't care and I don't want this to happen and I want more stability. I'm going to turn around and blame this on Antifa. That was another thing.
boy, or the reason America doesn't trust the government, or the reason the American people don't trust the media. And now the Secretary of State of Texas is talking about we may have to go after Alex Jones because he caused threats on election officials. They have no statements. They don't have me saying be violent. I didn't even probably ever even talk about the Texas election other than saying I don't think Beto, was as close as he said he was to Ted Cruz. So this is the absolute next level garbage and propaganda. In fact, overhead shot, I want to show people this. Texas Secretary of State.
Are you going to dox them again? What's going on here?
Alex Jones unleashed hell on our election people. That's the
Texas Secretary of State Alex Jones unleashed hell on our election people. Okay, so this is the Hill. Let's read this article. Texas Secretary of State Alex Jones, the Hill. It's the article in question. Same print, yeah. Texas Secretary of State John Scott, in an interview with Texas Monthly published Monday, decried the absurd amount of threats faced by election workers in recent years, pointing the finger at conspiracy theorists such as Alex Jones. The InfoWars guy has unleashed hell on our election people, Scott said. Law enforcement officials have pointed to a worrying trend of rising threats against election personnel and infrastructure, particularly in the wake of the 2020 election, which former President Trump and many of his supporters have falsely said was skewed by voter fraud. That's behavior is unacceptable under any scenario. Under any scenario. Just because someone said something or they saw something on TV, that doesn't excuse it. Texas Monthly pointed to a survey conducted by the Brennan Institute for Justice that found that one of the 6 election workers had received threats because of their job. In response, Scott said, "It's a huge problem. It's pathetic. The fact that they're in this much fear for their life, I think it's gotten heated. I think it's obscene. This is insanity. You can't have people receiving death threats for doing their jobs. True. Anytime the temperature gets turned up, it's impossible to have these nuts making statements. At least in our office, when I was told that these threats have long preceded the 2020 election."
The Hill. Here's another one. Republican Texas election chief blasts nuts peddling 2020 conspiracy theories.
Blast nuts. I think that's a good soundbite right there.
Republican Texas election chief blasts nuts.
Blast nuts.
Peddling 2020 conspiracy theories, zooms in on Alex Jones. So just like they're suing everybody that questions election fraud or mail-in ballots, they never even sued me.
You get there's a difference between I'm just asking questions, because you do that a lot. You do that, that's the cowardly protection, it insulates you at least, though, because you aren't actually making statements or proclamations or asserting facts or showing people's addresses after you've asserted lies, basically. That's the difference between those two things. And you usually do the other one.
Because I wasn't one of the main proponents of questioning the election like some of the more prominent people were who really got out there. I did have questions. It's my right to do it. But they're now just circling back going, okay, we just got this verdict. So now we're going to say Alex Jones made people question the elections. So now if you slip on a banana peel, or now if your carburetor breaks down, or maybe you get cancer, it's Alex Jones's fault. So
most cars are fuel
precedent.
injected now, but yes, the point remains.
Well, you know what I mean. That's why it's going to break down. It's an old car. It's an old carburetor.
Exactly. You have the OJ Bronco, not the new one that also breaks down. Hey, did you have a video you wanted to show, or is it us? Because we have trial highlights and we have the verdict being read. But
do you want to do some free promo, or can we do promo for you? We both have some videos that make you look, as in good light as we can. We have to be very selective of what we show and what parts we clip, because most of it was kind of just a horrifying experience for anyone who supports you.
I was told that you had a clip that you wanted to play when you came on. Do I have that
yes,
right?
Stephen, I really appreciate you, first off, having me on, having the courage to defend free speech. Let me actually get this out, and I'm sorry if I'm annoying. There's just so much here, and a lot of the points we haven't gotten to yet that I hope.
No, you're not annoying at all. I just want to make sure that I was told that you had a clip or a video.
Yes. I feel like Steven's trying to rein him in, or maybe the producers are, or maybe the segment is getting, does he stay for the rest of the episode? No, he doesn't. So I mean, oh no, he does. Never mind. Oof, that's a lot of Alex. God damn.
Let me describe this clip for you. Let me describe this clip. Okay, there's dozens of these in Texas and Connecticut. We have a compilation reel that's about 30 minutes long of them in front of the juries and at press conferences saying, take Alex Jones out. Never let him rebuild his platform again. And once we take him out, we're going to take out all the right-wing disinformation operatives like Tucker Carlson, and the list goes on and on. So this is the weaponization where they sue you in Democrat jurisdictions, where they default you, claiming that you didn't give them evidence. They tell the jury you're guilty, and then the jury decides how guilty.
By the way, we should put, I don't need to go into the whole capitalism thing, how monopolies form as corporations take over in late-stage capitalism, all that kind of stuff. But if you have a company that makes profit there should be a mechanism in place for people to have protections against that company if they are going to endanger their lives. Think of examples like if you have a oil company and that oil seeps into the ground and poisons local water wells so that people who used to be able to use those water reserves no longer can use them, or when they do, they get very, very sick. Or when, other chemical factories pump carcinogens into the area and people have very high rates of cancer and stuff like that. There should be a mechanism in place so that corporations and companies, under them seeking profit, can't be endangering people. This is a similar argument. The product here isn't petrochemicals, although in some ways it is, but it's entertainment. That's the commodity. He produces entertainment. He does the same thing I do, and there should be a mechanism in place for people who do have large platforms, or they are on large networks, or they are in large tech companies, which are like little mini independent networks in a giant hive. There should be a mechanism in place if your actions are directly going to harm people. Like, I don't know if anyone would be sitting defending Alex Jones at all if all Alex Jones did was give incredibly dangerous medical advice all the time, and that's all his show was, and stuff that like was resulting in death. Like, people were making NyQuil chicken because that's his cooking show. He's got the NyQuil chicken cooking hour, which if you inhale the fumes will kill you, kind of stuff. So I'm sure at a very swift point someone would be like, yeah, the families are going to sue you for telling them that it was perfectly safe and that you have a study, that you had studies that NyQuil chicken is really good for your health. Like that's actionable. This is actionable, right? And I don't know if Republicans, in theory, like, do they not support that? Do they think every company can just do whatever it wants? Because if that's the case, like, humanity's kind of fucked. If you don't rein in corporations and companies because they are working for the profit motive, that's the purpose behind them, especially if they're publicly traded. If they have fucking stockholders, the whole thing, they have to be fiduciary responsibly earners for everyone who has money in it. Now, hold up, actually. The Alex Jones NyQuil cooking show sounds like kind of a show I would watch. Not gonna lie. Yes, I would. But it would also be very dangerous, and I'd want it to not be on TV anymore.
After you've been demonized. So that's just what happened in Connecticut. So here they are.
PSA, never make NyQuil chicken. It will kill you. It is not a meme. It's not fun. It can, inhaling the fumes, we watched a documentary on it. It causes mass hallucinations and then death. It's very bad. It can destroy your liver, can destroy your kidneys. Never do it. It's very, very dangerous. Do not cook medicine into food. It's a terrible idea. It will hurt you. Never do it.
Yesterday, just a small clip at the press conference, Chris Maddy, the former federal prosecutor, up there, who had this kept controlled jury that was told I was guilty, and then he says, we don't want money from Alex Jones because I'm in bankruptcy.
Well, Alex, if it's in the clip, we can just watch the clip and let him say it. How long is it? Is it a minute? Is it 2 minutes? Just so I have an idea.
39 seconds.
39 seconds. All right, I want to run this, and then, no, you're not annoying at all. This is important, and we're going to spend as much time as we need to. I know you're busy, but this is important stuff, and I talked about it in the Cold Open Today show.
I appreciate you.
When you're ready, just roll. I guess you're rolling it from his end.
No, we'll roll it from our end then. Go ahead and roll it, guys.
All right.
But we will be at it as long as it takes. And if you're out there right now and you're one of Alex Jones's audience members and you're giving him money, I just want you to know that based on the jury's verdict today, it's not a very good bet. And to go back to what Robbie Parker said, all Alex Jones does is take from you, exploit you, lie to you, feed your fears and your anxieties and your mistrust.
I see
and
no
the
lies.
only person that benefits in that equation is him. Well, that stops. That's stopping today, thanks to the courage of these families. Thank you very much. Thanks, Senator.
All right, so what he just said there is, we don't want money from Alex Jones. And I want to explain to listeners. We're going to appeal this.
Then they ask for money.
Get overturned.
Then they ask for money. We don't want the $900 million from Alex Jones, damn it. You can make that payable to cash.
Absolutely. So if I can, I'm chomping at the bit because there's so many angles to this, Stephen. Number one, I don't have $3 million cash in my company and my personal stuff. I have enough to operate and pay the bills and legal. I got a nice house, got decent cars, but I don't worship things. So that them trying to take money away from me means nothing, and it'll actually make me work harder to expose them. I'd work for free exposing them, so they're never going to silence me without killing me or putting me in prison.
Right.
And so that would
all lies. All lies. Absolute 100% lies. Yeah. Like, everything was for the money. You said that you were an entertainer for cash. Like, it's like, it's money.
Doesn't kill me, only makes me stronger. But they specifically say over and over again, they want me taken off the air. They want me bankrupt. Okay, so So we're in Chapter 5, Chapter 11, Subchapter 5 bankruptcy. That isn't liquidation. It's where we do a plan to the federal government. We say, okay, you can have the future profits towards all these lawsuits in the future in a 5-year plan. And there's not much profit around here, so my crew stays hired, we stay on air, it becomes a zombie organization is what they call it, because now any profit, but they're not allowed to fire people or do all that stuff. The operation continues on, the listeners support it, and then whatever extras there, they get paid. That's in 2 years at least, even if this isn't overturned on appeal. So they announce it's the end of Alex Jones, it's all over. It's all more hype, more fraud, more disinformation. So that's what they just did here. And I have more clips of them specifically saying,
can I ask you a
we
question,
want
Alex?
to take him out.
And I'm not trying to cut you off, but some of these questions are just because it's hard for me to find the truth, the answers on it. I know we talked about the cap. We talked about the cap in Texas, right? On I believe it's is it punitive?
You're kind of just going off the rails, Alex. This is a fluff piece. You're on here for me to kind of just rejuvenate your image in the eyes of the right so that you're still going to continue to be able to do the very important work you do. Wink, wink. Like we all know what needs to be done. Wink, wink. So we need you to kind of focus. Just focus. Don't keep going off on all these weird tangents and talking about all the things unrelated to what I'm talking about. Again, this is for you. I'm doing this for you. Come on, Alex.
Damages.
Yes.
Is there a cap in Connecticut, or are you, unless it is overturned on appeal, are you on the hook for the hundreds of millions of dollars?
The short answer is they lie and say I owe $50 million in Texas. It's about 5.6. There are caps. It's in the state law. They can't overturn it.
Right.
It's different in Connecticut. The unfair trade practices, or CUTMA, however they call it, that is unlimited, and that is up for the judge to decide. So she's going to come back next week and probably hit me with $1 billion more. So all the other ones do have caps, but because there's 15 plaintiffs, they're all capped at, I forget the number, like $4 million. So $10 million is more money than I can get them.
Of course.
$50 million is more. $1 billion, it's all a joke at this point. It's like saying, we're going to cut you into 20 million pieces. Well, if you cut me in 5 pieces, I'm going to die.
Right.
So they're like, we're gonna drop 25 nuclear bombs on Alex Jones's house. And I'm like, I think 1 nuclear bomb would probably kill me.
Probably.
So we're gonna shoot 20 million bullets into you instead of 5 bullets. So this is all overkill. It's just the left having a temper tantrum. They want to scare everybody else and get a bunch of other lawyers to file lawsuits to come after all the conservatives and all the nationalists and all the patriots. And I really appreciate you letting me get that out there, because it's so frustrating to be kind of only have my show that has a big audience, but it's compartmentalized because of censorship. It's very hard to actually get the truth out there.
No, it's not just censorship,
so people
Alex.
understand.
It's not just censorship. It's cowardice. You and I have had conversations, obviously off air, where I wouldn't say called you than that, but I've said I don't agree with this. I don't like that. Remember, I told you. I remember early on the show saying I don't like that you sometimes stir up infighting with conservatives. I remember you saying, you know what, I used to do that more, and I've decided the left is a more important enemy. We've had very strong disagreements. I felt compelled to have you on because some of the biggest figures in our movement, who, by the way, agreed with all of some of your quote unquote conspiracy theories that I thought were incorrect, they didn't have you on. It is censorship. And it's cowardice from people on the right. And by the way, I've experienced that too. I've experienced that for jokes that then people on the right will take out of context. So my issue is not so much with the left being the left, right? It's like being mad that a crocodile bites you. I'm mad with people on the right who aren't doing it. Let me ask you, Alex, really, point blank. I know you talk about appeals. How scared are you right now?
I am way more scared about the direction the country's going in if they admit this is a formula for everybody. I mean, while the right wing laughs, some of them, and says, oh, it's just Alex Jones, they're on every channel saying we're coming after everybody now with this model. And they've even got the Republican Secretary of State in Texas saying we want to come after Republicans that question election fraud. Give me a break. So you have the rhinos, the neocons, the rabid left allied together against the populist uprising of nationalist Americans who are peacefully trying to take our country back. So I'm way more concerned.
He said the quiet part out loud. There it is. There's a ding, 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 ding. The nationalists. I mean, they like to add Christian beforehand, so it's like, oh, it's the Christian nationalists. It's not. Ooh, yeah, sorry, we're not talking to the ones you're thinking of, but yeah, the Christian nationalists. We're gonna unite together to destroy them all. Yes.
About nuclear war. I'm way more concerned about financial collapse. I mean, here's a good point, Stephen. Quite frankly, the way inflation's going, the way it accelerates towards Weimar Republic or Zimbabwe, in 10 years, there's such inflation, $1 billion will be like $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, at the current rate we're at here, so
Be like pesos.
Ooh, this is scary. Jokes aside, this is the far-right media circuit, pundits, if you will, Steven Crowder, Alex Jones. And Alex Jones has said a lot of white supremacist comments in the past, by the way. He has said things and exaggerated crime statistics to get people scared about the fact that black people in America are overwhelmingly murdering white people. He was like, it was a ratio of 10 to 1, and now it's a ratio of 20 to 1. And no, those are made up numbers. In fact, most murders fall along racial lines. Black people kill a lot of black people. White people kill a lot of white people. White people majorly kill white people, and black people majority kill black people in America, if you look at the actual crime statistics. That's the kind of Stormfront shit that you don't really hear in, I don't know, the radio, on TV, shit like that. It's kind of one of those moments where you're like, God damn, okay, so Alex Jones is just a full-blooded white supremacist. In that same episode, he also was talking about how gay people eat poo and are filled with diseases, and brought on some dude who was straight up talking about Christian nationalism. Like, his whole shtick was that we can't be as concerned about Christian nationalism or using it. We need to start being proud about that.
No, I'm not scared. I am disgusted. And I really feel proud of myself because I've told the truth about this. I've said when I was wrong. They have created this whole synthetic identity for me, this straw man. And then.
Sorry, I totally missed the second point of that point. The fact that the two of them were just now talking about Weimar Republic, specific terminology, by the way, that's been echoed by other people in these circles. We're talking, Tucker Carlson has used the same term to talk about where we're going, as in the degeneracy of the current age. Usually it's involving trans people, usually it's involving gay people, like LGBTQ plus in general, is what they are targeting on a regular basis when they talk about that. Like when the Drag Queen Story Hour was coming out, the one that Shuan had made that was really popular, when Crowder and all those people were doing stories on it, one of Crowder's team also uses that term. He's like, fucking, you know, this is what led to the Nazis rising. And then Crowder had to do a whole like, whoa, no one here is saying blah, blah, blah. In addition to that, Tucker Carlson starts one of his shows with just another night in Weimar. And you're like, whoa, okay. So they're all kind of implying the same thing. And yes, it was high inflation as a precursor to the rise of fascism, a depression and a skyrocketing inflation, people in Germany suddenly going from one location to another, having to, you know, by the time you made it to the bank and took the money out and tried to buy something with it, it wasn't worth enough to buy the thing you were trying to buy, that kind of stuff. Yes, it is a fertile ground for fascism, absolutely, because someone comes along that can unite all the people based on a common enemy. And for the Nazis, it was the Jews. They spread a anti-Semitic lie that Jewish people were controlling the bank. And because Jewish people were controlling the banks, that's why all this inflation and really bad money handling was happening. This was the cause of all this. Not that these are mechanics built into capitalism, and it seems to be a perpetual cycle that happens, especially as you continue to funnel money into the hands of the very wealthy and only the very wealthy. And eventually you need to get in something to try and band-aid it, like Keynesian economics. You know, let's be a little bit more nice, have a little bit of a safety net, a little bit more social structure. We can help out there. Anyways, all that is the fertile ground for fascism. And a lot of these motherfuckers, like these two are not like fringe. You know, these two are not far off. They are incredibly popular pundits on the internet. And they're saying a lot of the quiet part out loud. We need to return the country to the nationalists. Like you just said that out loud. You know, this is how Weimar happened, and you know, and it's like, yeah, soon our money is going to be worthless, and all this kind of stuff like that, right? They're saying it.
They sat there and had to lie to a jury and suppress the truth and tell them I was guilty and rig this kangaroo court so I myself can hold my head tall. But I am in general very concerned for my children, for the country in the future, because of the
Jewish people were pushed into banking due to anti-Semitism, and they were once again blamed, none of which is justified at all. Well, there was only one bank in Germany of the big four banks that had a Jewish person at the helm. There was only one. It's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that the Jewish people controlled the banks. There was a lot of Jewish people who, as a profession, were either bankers or worked in banking or had something to do in that. You could say that they were overrepresented in that capacity. That's very different than they control the banks. And the reason that's important is because that was what the Nazis used to scapegoat what was happening in the economy and to change the focus of the German people onto a common enemy, and that they needed to have control, mass mass militarization, a silencing of academia, silencing of press, absolutely, just happening one after, and then after that, seizing of power. After losing to get a majority in the election, seizing power, using catalysts, like the Reichstag fire, stuff like that. That's the pathway. And the idea of them signaling out that the reason why these banks are suddenly having these inflation problems and your money's worthless, it's actually the Jews. That's part of the deeply embedded anti-Semitism that was so notable by the Nazis.
Rapid acceleration into total and complete corruption.
I know you have some other things you want to hit. I don't even know if we can probably show the clips on YouTube, but Gerald here, I know has a question for you. You can't see him, but he's.
That's a good way to describe it because it honors the truth while contextualizing it properly. You have to. It's crucial because that is part of the myth. And if you want to understand fascism and the way that it operates, that's part of what they did intentionally in order to, again, vilify the Jewish people and distract everyone from what were the real causes of rampant inflation taking place and the Great Depression globally.
He's champing at the bit. Gerald, yeah, please.
Yeah, so you said earlier that this is going to be overturned. Why do you think that it will be overturned? Not that you just have kind of this faith in that that's going to happen, but what are you guys arguing, if you can reveal that to us, on how it's going to be overturned?
Well, that's an excellent question. I have talked to dozens of very well-known constitutional lawyers. I can tell you Norm Pattis is a very well-known, successful lawyer around the country. He's talked to current and former judges in Connecticut and in New York, federal and state, that say this is the most insane craziness they've ever seen. The judge said in open court,
the most insane craziness.
Rules in limine and told us what I couldn't say.
Blake,
she said in court, can't say you're innocent. Can't say you barely ever talked about these people. Can't say you didn't make money off of it. Can't be political, but they could hold up magazines I put out exposing Obama, but then we couldn't respond back to it. She literally tied our hands and did this. So either America's gone and completely done, or in Texas and in Connecticut, if I have the money for the appeals, that's why they want to bankrupt us right now, because they are so scared that if there's any justice left at the Texas or the Connecticut Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court, they've got to overturn this because the deep state, the ambulance chaser brigade are openly saying they're coming after everyone with this, just like when I got censored.
Man, what a bunch of babies. It's just like, hey, I got caught. I'm in trouble. I have to pay a whole bunch of money. Well, I'm not alone in this one. If they come for me and you remain silent, they'll come for you. First, they came for Alex Jones and you said nothing. Oh, wait. Steven Crowder said a lot. Okay, we're good. We're good. Nice. Everyone knows. Awesome. I think I've heard enough. I don't need to sit through any more of this silly man. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earthhuman, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.